a hunt in the forest that is able to report. But there are so many things that we know that cannot be brought into the public space when it comes to the power sector. For instance, the other line that Joshua mentioned that is passing through very thick vegetation. There are pieces of information in the public space that the quality of work that was done there was shoddy. Why that will be so is open to a lot of investigations and interpretations. So for me, the Nigerian environment is becoming more and more challenging, such that the government must rise to the occasion. I listened to the National Security Advisor this morning or yesterday, where he itemized or he listed energy protection as one of the major facilities that government must begin to pay extra attention to. So, because energy security is a major security. Can you imagine the entire northern region, that large swath of land, being thrown out of supply for 10 days and perhaps still counting? I mean, look at what it has caused the economy of the entire north. Look at what it has done to the social life of the entire north. Look at what it has done to the health of the entire north. So many things have been held captive as a result of what happened. And analysts are saying that the north was losing close to 1.5 trillion on a daily basis for 10 days. The north is a heavily commercialized area where a lot of trade, buying and selling takes place. For that period of time, nothing was going on so that was significant enough as compared to what ought to be going on in the north. So for me, I think the country must begin to address a lot of social issues that are coming out of the economic situation that we have found ourselves today.
Very much, but now back to you, Joshua. You also wanted to tell us what is going on as regards restoring light in the rest of the other states. You rightly mentioned that we had 17 states that were cut off. Now 7 states have been restored. Now it's still remaining 10.
Yes.
Okay, and of course you also mentioned the other line, the Shiroro. What have you seen that's going on to restore power in these areas?
For the Shiroro line, just like I said, due to security situation in the area, that is one area that security have to re-strategize and deploy its personnel before TCN engineers can commence repair work. And this is coming from TCN. TCN said as soon as security is guaranteed in that area, they will now commence repair work. But just like I said, the Shiroro Mando line or Shiroro Kaduna line, towers were vandalized, pulled down, destroyed. So of course, this will now take time. But the one in Ogwaji Apir, that is the one that it is the line that snapped. So fixing that or repairing that, I don't think should take us longer time. And just like the minister said and the TCN, the assurance was that this will be fixed by Sunday.
But Joshua, something that one will readily ask is that destroying these lines or destroying the infrastructure, power infrastructure, did not just happen in a day. Definitely must have been happening over time before it eventually came to this point where they were caught out. Was there no one that saw anything, that the communities did not see anything, or did they just sit down and watch people destroy power infrastructure? This is a serious concern. What do you think?
And this is where collaboration now comes in. And this is where community engagement also comes in. TCN has to sustain this advocacy with the locals on the need for everyone to take charge, take responsibility of this infrastructure. For the fact that this infrastructure are government or belongs to government, who are the government? It is me and you that is the government. This power infrastructure are to provide electricity for everyone. It's not to provide electricity to government officials. It is for every Nigerians. And for the 10 or 11 days that the northern part of the country was in blackout, everybody felt the impact of this blackout, and they look at the economy loss. So I think TCN need to do more on the issue of community engagement with the locals, though TCN on their own part says that is what they have been doing, sustaining advocacy with the locals on the need for them to keep vigilance of this power infrastructure, because these towers are not located in cities, but they are located in rural areas, and in some instances, most of these towers are in hinterlands. And that is why there is need for this vegetation control by the TCN, which before now I think that is something that's supposed to be done annually for them to clear this vegetation along the power lines, so that some of these towers can be visible, so that even if some of these vandals go around that place, the area will be so open that everyone can see. But you can imagine, like in the case of Ogwaji Appeal Line, that it took TCN 5 days even to locate where the fault was. This is because the place is a very thick forest. But you can imagine if there is vegetation control, perhaps they could have been able to identify that easily. And also on the issue of vandalism that you're talking about, or in the issue of saying it keep reoccurring, like the issue that the Chiroro-Kaduna line, this is not the first time that towers along that line were pulled down. This is not the first time. But this time around, looking at the security implication and the threat to lives of the engineers, that is why it's now taking longer time. And that is why National Security Advisor now has to step in for government to mobilize and re-strategize security, so that there should be proper deployment of security, that the line can be fixed. Beyond that, going forward, I think we also need to adopt technology in tracking some of these things.
I'll come back to you on that, Joshua. Let's bring in Bode here. Bode, what more can be done to nip this problem in the bud? Because we keep talking about the same issues. What can be done?
Let me take off from where Joshua just stopped now in terms of technology. You see, I'm embarrassed by the fact that by today's Nigeria, it took TCN 4 days to be able to locate where that fault was, for them to be. I mean, I can understand that assessing the fault site will be difficult, because you need a lot of heavy duty vehicles to clear the road and things like that. But like Joshua said, if that vegetation had been constantly cleared and that line had been constantly maintained, transmission always has a right of way that allow vehicles to travel on that track. But that is just one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is the technology. There are equipment in the power sector that can enable you locate where a fault is. For instance, a cable that is laid underground, say in Abuja, that has some underground network, say maybe from NTA to maybe the minister's office, the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, and there is a cable traveling from your station to where the minister's office is, and there is a problem on that cable. There is a machine that can tell you the exact spot or bring you approximately close to the spot where that problem is, so that you don't have to dig the entire cable length before you get to where the fault is. The same thing, and transmission is operating at a very high voltage level. So I will expect that by now, transmission will have equipment that can almost pinpoint, not that day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, before they can locate where their fault is. That's number 1. Number 2, and it's very, very important that we stress this fact, for how long are we going to be policing the towers? The country does not have that resources. The security men don't have that time. They don't have. There are more serious issues. There are issues of existential issues that they deal with than to go and see. I'm not by any means reducing the degree of importance of energy security, but I'm saying that for you to now go and start locating military men in those thick forests, it's waste of human resources. Why can't we break our transmission network in such a way that we can regionalize it, and then they can pass through the city, and then we can see that it can be more easy to police them, to even ask the communities to police the network as it is now is even dangerous to their own lives. How many communities can withstand Boko Haram attack in such locations? Of course, they will run away, and they will have a field day to do whatever they want to do. So we must be, see, the problem I have in this country is that we are not a thinking country. We are not, by now, we should have seen this problem, and we should have started devising solutions. But the problem I have with us in this country is that we thrive in chaos. It is only when things become chaotic, and who knows, maybe some people are benefiting from the chaos. That's why we wait until things become so bad before we now rise up to the occasion, and we can spend 29 billion in restoring the network. I mean, what is the difference between 29 billion and the money and the amount that the former Minister of Power was accused to have taken away from the coffers? 33 billion, 29 billion. I mean, so we thrive in chaos. So I'm not surprised that we are in this kind of situation.
No, but I beg to disagree with the comment you made that we are not a thinking country, because we have people like you and people like Ojito here. Of course, we are a thinking country. So, Ojito, Joshua, talk to us about the situation that we are faced. You talked about technology, and what else have you noticed?
Another thing again that we have to do to prevent reoccurrence of this is the issue of decentralizing our grid, just like Mr. Bode said. For instance, we can't just say the entire northern country is relying on these two major lines to transmit electricity, bulk electricity. There are other hydropower projects in the north that have not been completed, even thermal plants. For instance, in Kaduna, there is this gas-powered plant, 215 megawatts gas-powered plant, that is still there for years, has not been completed. You can imagine if that power plant is completed. With this kind of challenge, the gas power plant in Kaduna can be able to generate and transmit electricity to Kaduna, Kano, and even Niger. We have the Gurara Dam, completed so many years, but the evacuation work is not done. That power plant, that hydropower plant, the Gurara, is generating supposed to generate 30 megawatts of electricity. We have Dadinkowa in Gombe, though that one is on the grid too. So by the time that we begin to have some of these mini dams across north, I think it will help so that the northern part of the country will not just rely on these two major lines that are transmitting electricity to the north. And also, just like the minister said, though it may be a long time, we have to now begin to think about solar. We have to begin to talk about renewables. By the time that states begin to now do their own, and thank God for the coming of the Electricity Act, which now empowers states to be able to do all these things. So northern parts of the country must not necessarily rely on some of these thermal plants that now generate electricity to the north.
You will need alternative
exactly.
Source of power. Now, but they give us your closing thought on this issue.
Well, I think we must take a decision on what we want to do with the power sector. 10 years down the road, we are still repeating the same story and perhaps getting more complicated. 10 years down the road, I mean, we privatized. And like Joshua said, I am fully in support of the fact that the dams that are in the north, if we harness the resources, lines traveling from Enugu. Can you imagine lines traveling from Enugu? Look at the distance it will cover before it now carries electricity to the north. By now, if it was good in those days, it's no longer good today. We must begin to, you see, when I said we are not a thinking country, I need you to understand my context. We must begin to think ahead and begin to look for solutions. We should not only think, we must implement. We must not be people who will speak and not do things. That's the point I'm trying to make. So I think we take a decision.
Thank you very much, Bode. Yeah, I thank God you corrected yourself there. We must think ahead. We are thinking, but you only mean we should think ahead. Thank you very much. That was Bode Fadikpe. He's an electricity expert and also CEO and Sage Consulting and Communication. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution. And also here in the studio, we had Joshua Ojito, he's the NTA Power correspondent. Thank you.
Thank you very so much. I appreciate it.
And thank you for being part of the program. Don't forget, Nigeria Today airs every weekday at 7:30 p.m. on Nta News24. You can also check out this episode and others on www.youtube.com/NTA News24 hub. I am your carrier, Clinton. Thanks for watching.